everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 292, The Outer Limits, The Inheritors, Part 1 and Part 2. And with me tonight to discuss this classic from 1964 is my lovely wife, Shari.
Hello.
Hi, hon.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me tonight.
Sure.
And I'm very excited to talk about this episodes with you.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, Ross will be back next Friday, everybody. So so just so everyone knows what in regards to that, we were supposed to do a show this past Friday. Ross was still kind of recovering, and anyway, we'll be back this coming Friday, which will be the 27th of February, and that'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I have a wonderful co-host with me tonight, and I kind of roped her in at last minute. I was going to do this solo, but I thought for everybody involved, it would be better if we did this together. And I picked this episode, as everyone knows, unfortunately, sadly, on February 15th, Robert Duvall had passed away. So I thought, in honor of Robert Duvall, I thought it would be kind of cool to discuss his involvement in sci-fi, which he actually did a lot of episodic television back in the day, in the 1960s, and before he became, got involved with the movies and, really became the superstar that he was. But again, sadly, he passed away in 95. He just turned 95 in January. But this was his second appearance in The Outer Limits, and these episodes have actually always been favorites of mine, so I thought it would be kind of cool to discuss it. So here we are, and I want to welcome some of the folks that are out there tonight. I see Dennis Chevalier is joining us from Canada. Welcome, Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
And I see May is joining us from Canada as well. Hey, May. And Lou is out there joining us from Rhode Island. Hey, Lou.
Hey, Lou.
So glad to see you, the folks out there, and I'm sure there'll be some other folks joining us. But just wanted to get into this episode and just kind of remember it. And it's really kind of hard to believe that this episode premiered back in November of 1964. The two parts on two separate weeks. So it literally is 61 years and change ago that it actually premiered on ABC.
You weren't even born yet.
I wasn't born yet. I don't even think I wasn't even considered a thought yet. Wow.
No.
Well, maybe
I was a little toddler.
How the heck is 1964, 62? I mean, literally, it'll be 62 years this November.
I don't know.
Crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, there you go in regards to that. But no, in regards to Robert Duvall, I mean, his screen credits are amazing, and I'm not even going to go through everything because we'll be here all night. But it's just that he did do a lot of, like I was saying, episodic television. And in fact, he did a Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea episode too. If folks out there remember that as well. I'm sure Lou does. So just to put that out there, but it was good to see him in this. Now,
Did he do anything Star Trek?
He did not.
No.
Could you imagine if he had, though? How cool that would have been. Oh my God. That would have been amazing.
That would have been.
But and speaking of Star Trek, there are so many Star Trek connections with The Outer Limits. In fact, we've had Dave Rash on the show, and Dave is like the keeper of the gate in regards to The Outer Limits. I mean, his knowledge of The Outer Limits is amazing, and he's worked with Dominic Stefano, Joseph Stefano's son, and preserving all of working to preserve Joseph Stefano's writings and scripts. In fact, he has the books that he's done, and then also the books that have come out in scripts. And I can't say enough about Dave Rash. And I would have loved to have had Dave be on here with us. And I actually did reach out to him, but Dave was kind of tied up. But so when it comes to that, in fact, I definitely want to have Dave come back on the show. But regarding Robert Duvall, I mean, he did Alfred Hitchcock Presents back in the 1960s. He did a Twilight Zone. He did the FBI, the Mod Squad, if folks remember the Mod Squad. So really did a lot of episodic television back in the day. Now, Hun, were you a fan of The Outer Limits?
I remember watching it when I was a little girl and sitting in front of the TV set, and when they would say there's nothing wrong with your television set, I would believe it because, I was a little girl and I was like, and then they tell you not to attempt to adjust the picture. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to touch anything. Yeah. But I don't really remember a lot of the episodes because, I was so little. And I even asked my dad tonight when I called him if he remembered watching The Outer Limits. And he said he did remember watching it, but he didn't really remember any of the episodes. But and this one I definitely did not remember watching. I know we've watched some of the episodes in the past, right?
Yes.
But we never watched this one before, right?
No, we didn't. We hadn't watched this one together.
Yeah, so last night and then today I watched the second part. So that was really the first time that I remember watching it. So
yeah.
But I liked watching it when I was a little girl, and it was sort of scary to me because I was so little watching it,
Well, and that's just it. Now there were two seasons of The Outer Limits, and the first season had Leslie Stevens was involved in, and Joseph Stefano. Joseph Stefano was incredible, and in regards to his writings, I mean, he was the writer of Psycho for the folks out there that remember that movie, and what they had was almost, it was like the monster of the week, and the monster was deemed as the bear, and that was something. Now ABC really was really pushing for that. In fact, there was I would say an executive at ABC that was really wanting to have a kind of monster of the week sort of thing. His name was Adrian Samish, and he actually gave pushback in regards to this episode because it was atypical. There really was no bear or monster of the week. I mean, there was an alien presence for those folks that remember these episodes, but it was atypical. But the ending of the second part was unique in its own right. And at the end of the day, he was actually convinced in regards to how this was going to play out. I see Jack Dealey's joining us. Hey, Jack, thanks for being out there. He said, this episode stands out for many reasons. Not only the two-parter, it was also not your typical Monster of the Week episode. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. And it was something different. And what they basically said, the producer said, was, Ben Brady at the time, he said, you know what, we'll kind of go with not doing that for this, and we'll give you monsters, in the upcoming episodes.
So every episode had a different monster?
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was kind of now everybody knows the control voice. In fact, when you were watching this, I remember you said you were like, oh, now the control voice was Vic Perrin. And there were so many Star Trek connections, all roads lead to Star Trek with The Outer Limits. As Dave Rash likes to remind me, it's almost like all roads lead to The Outer Limits, because The Outer Limits was before Star Trek. Mm-hmm. And The Outer Limits was produced between 1963 and 1965. This was the second season, 64. But I mean, you had Bob Justman, who was the associate producer on this, who obviously was involved with Star Trek. I just mentioned Vic Perrin was the control voice. Vic Perrin did voice work in Star Trek. He was in Arena as the voice of the Metrons. He was also, for the folks out there that remember the Mirror Mirror episode, the Hawkins. He was, on the Hawken Council. He was the leader of the Hawkins. So there's that connection with the actors. There's also some more connections we'll be talking about later on as we get a little bit more involved. I do want to read the opening narration for this, though. So, and it goes like this. In the troubled places of the world, the devil's hunter finds rare game. For man-made savagery is only the instrument for a secret terror stirring from its dark place of ambush.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That's major.
That is
That's
really
the major writing there.
It really is. Hey, Bill's out there. Hey, Bill, thanks for joining us.
Bill.
Aw, thanks, Bill. Great to see you. And congrats about the murder mystery, too, for this past weekend. So that's awesome. I'm sorry we couldn't make it. We really wanted to, but great job with that. So just want to give a shout out, and we'll be talking about Country Gate a little later as well, too. But yeah, so anyway, that's really, really heavy in regards to that. Yes, thank you, Lou. Vic Perrin was also the voice of Nomad, exactly, in the Changeling Star Trek episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
He had a great voice.
He really did.
Yeah.
You remember that episode, right, hon? I am Nomad.
I am Nomad. Yes. How can I forget it? You watch him over and over again.
You're going to sell me out right here on the show.
Oh, you're watching Star Trek again? Or Space 1999? Can you see what I have behind me here?
Yeah, I see that eagle back there.
Oh,
it's a 22-inch eagle.
But I also have over here, let's see if I can get my hands right, my birds. So,
oh, yeah.
My birds. So we got the spaceship and the birds.
Oh, you got the eagle and you
got the eagle. Balance.
Yeah, it's a matter of balance.
The eagle and the birds. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, it's okay. We digress all the time on here. So just to remind the folks out there, something I don't do very often anymore, and Ross always smiles, but I'm going to go over the plot of this episode just to kind of refresh folks.
Drink.
Yes.
Drink.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers. Cheers looking at you, Solange.
You're going to go over the plot?
I am going to go over the plot. And just as a spoiler alert. What's that? There's a
lot to the plot.
Hey, that rhymes. So the episode opens up, and it's taking place during the Vietnam War. And what happens is a lieutenant is shot, and he's actually shot in the head, and he's brought back to the U.S. and they're doing surgery on him. And Robert Duvall's character is actually, he works for the scientific security, and he's been made aware of three other instances where three other persons that were in the war were also shot, and also shot in the head, but survived. And what's happened with these other three individuals is that their recovery was amazing. However, they find out that when they're doing the encephalogram, that there's an alien intelligence that is superimposing their brainwaves with the victims. And what happens is there's like two identities going on, two brain paths going on. And when they do a comparison of the four men, they find out that the brain patterns are the same. So Robert Duvall's character, Adam Ballard, is very worried that something is going on. He feels that he's thinking aliens because of this intelligence, this force, so to speak, especially with all the similarities and everything, the way they're working together. And he finds out that where the bullets were manufactured was in an area of Vietnam where a meteorite had come down. So he goes into enemy territory with another soldier, is able to get a sampling of the rock, the meteorite, and basically finds out that there's an RNA factor and it has basically life to it. And this is the substance that has imprinted itself on each of the men. And each of these men have different, I'll say, talents. One is like a botanist. Another is an engineer. Another is a developer. And then Steve Ihnat's character, who's the lieutenant, the one that we see that actually was shot at the very beginning of the episode, his strength is in finance. And what it is the four men are coming together, have never met, but are being driven by this intelligence to formulate how to create and develop this project, and they have no idea what it is. They're just going through the motions. And as long as there's no interference in regards to the project, everything is fine. However, if they try to resist, or if anybody tries to stop them or to interfere, what happens is it's like they go into overdrive, and they're able to have a form of mind control over anybody that gets in their way. And they try to prevent the lieutenant. And again, like I said, he was the actor that played him was Steve Ihnat. Basically, they try to stop him, but he does what the other guy does, and that was Ronaldo. He basically takes over the guard, the nurse, and basically is able to leave the hospital. Now, with the first two people that were actually shot, there was nothing that was thought about it because they didn't realize this was going on. It wasn't until the third individual came across having these extraordinary powers, they had concern. And then that's when their levels really got, they hit the red alert, so to speak, on trying to prevent the lieutenant from getting out of the hospital. But with all the measures that they take, essentially they're unable to stop him because he has like mind control. It's almost like a form of hypnosis. And it's very weary because we don't know what's going on. And it's suspenseful, I'll say.
Yeah. Just don't look into the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes, Rex, the eyes, as Ross would say. Hey, I just want to say hi to Chris. Chris is joining us, and he's joining us from Louisville, Kentucky. Hey,
Chris.
Good to see you out there, Chris. And Chris just said, yeah, the late Steve Ihnat should have won an Emmy for his performance in this classic two-part episode. I agree, Chris. I mean, he was brilliant. He was an excellent actor, and I definitely want to talk about some of his work. Sadly, he was only 38 years old when he passed, and he died in 1972. He had a heart condition, but yeah, really, really talented actor, and very sensitive performance with this episode. So just to kind of remind the folks, I'm going to put up some slides. Just so there we have Robert Duvall. Like I said, we're honoring him tonight.
Yeah. 95.
95. Wow. Bless him. And then the two actors, Robert Duvall was the star of this episode, and then Donald Harron also. And Robert Duvall played Adam Ballard, and Don Harron played Art Harris, and he was pretty much like an FBI guy. And interesting enough too, with Donald Harron, he actually did a lot of work. He was heavily involved in Shakespeare for my readings and everything. And sadly, he passed away about 10 years ago. But he was a playwright, he was a composer, a journalist, and he actually was a regular on Hee Haw too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He didn't look familiar to me. A lot of the other actors in this looked familiar to me, but I didn't know their names or anything. But he did not look familiar to me. Art Harris, is that what you said his name was?
No, Donald Harron. He played Art Harris, though.
Oh, he played Art Harris. Okay.
Yeah.
He did not look familiar to me.
Yeah, he did Shakespeare in Ontario. He had a minor part in Richard III. And again, he was in Canada, lived in Canada. But he also did Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I remembered him from that episode. It was called Doomsday. Did The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Television series going back again in the 60s, 12 O'Clock High. So definitely did a lot of episodic television. And let me just switch. I'm going to share some more slides here. Here we go. And then again, Steve Ihnat was the lieutenant. He's on the left. Ivan Dixon, if you remember Hogan's Heroes, you may remember him from that. Also Dee Pollock, he was a child actor. He did a lot of stuff. Sadly, he passed away about 20 years ago, died at a young age.
He looks so young. You know how old he is when he did this?
Yeah, when he did this episode, he was about 27 years old, 26, 27 years old.
He looks even younger than that.
Yeah, he did Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Wagon Train. Johnny Ringo, The Outlaws, Wells Fargo, Perry Mason, The
Wow.
Virginia, The Fugitive. Did a lot of episodic television back in the day. And then also then James Frawley. He also was a director. In fact, he had done the Muppet movie back in '79. He had directed that. And sadly, he passed away in 2019. He was 82 years old when he passed away. But
he was really good. He was really like, you could feel the acting. You could feel like the struggle that he was having with,
right.
Because they actually have two brains, right? They have their own and then the alien's brain.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Okay. So his acting was really good. You could tell he was really struggling with the two different brains. And he knew that he couldn't control what he was doing, but there was like this emotion in him that didn't want to be doing what he was doing because he thought he was doing bad.
Yeah, he really gave the impression of somebody that was being tormented and was struggling with what was going on. And Ivan Dixon's character, I mean, I thought he gave a sensitive performance too. In fact, they have him at the one point, he's at the church and he's basically praying and he's trying to find the goodness of everything, what's going on, because, to Sherry's point, the four men are being directed. Steve Ihnat's character is really like the leader and he's kind of directing everything, but the others are sort of following. But even with Steve Ihnat, he does a wonderful performance, because in the beginning, when he's recovering in the hospital and he's met by Robert Duvall's character, Ballard, he comes off very, very sensitive, but then you could see when he's like, he's wheelchair bound and he's like, going, he's approaching Ballard, and then there's almost like an aggressiveness, and it shows how his character is, it's a duality where the other force, the other intelligence is like taking over, and he starts even questioning Ballard. What are your intentions, and why are you here? And Ballard is pointing out to him that the four men have no ties. They pretty much are on their own. They've all been in similar situations and they've never met, yet they're connected. And he even asks him if he knows who the other men are. And, he says he doesn't, but still there's that connection that's really driving everything.
And the other three men, they don't know why they're doing what they're doing, right?
They don't, no.
But does Steve Ihnat, does he know the whole time what he's doing, or you don't know?
He doesn't know. I think when in the beginning, he doesn't. And he's just kind of going through the motions as well. He knows that he has to do what he's being driven to do. And where it ends in the first episode, it's essentially with Adam Ballard, Robert Duvall's character, trying to piece it all together and trying to track them down. In fact, he goes, like I said, he goes to Vietnam. He gets a piece of the metal, or from that where the meteorite came down, brings it back, has it analyzed. And the other thing is with trying to track down the men to see where they're at, because again, the lieutenant escapes and he starts going to a bank and he's making investments, and he starts out with, I think, like $500. And again, this is like 1964. Mm-hmm. So he turns like $500 into like over $400,000. And it's a way to fund the project in order to generate revenue so that they can buy the materials, because they're building a spaceship is what they're doing. And Ballard is worried that they're up to something that's going to affect, humanity. And he's trying to basically shut him down. And he works in the science division, but he's working for the government. So the way the episode ends, basically they go to his apartment to meet him, and they're going to be ready for him when he gets there, and they're going to try to stop him. So with that, the closing narration of the end of the first episode goes like this: Man looks up at the stars and dreams his futile dreams. Child of the universe, his toys are ignorance, his games fantasy. Not even master of his own fate. It is the devil's puppeteer who stretches his fingers to answer the question, what will happen next? Ooh.
Another whoa moment.
And that's how that's actually how the first act ends, or the first episode ends. Yeah. Chris is commenting some stuff. I want to share some of his stuff. Actually, I'm going to go back here a little ways. First, I'm going to go with Jack. Yes, James Goldstone, the director of this episode, also directed Where No Man Has Gone Before. He certainly did, Jack. And let me tell you something. That is one of my favorite Star Trek episodes of all time. I love Where No Man Has Gone Before. Second pilot, shot back in 1965, literally a day before my -1 birthday.
-1. Whoa.
I wasn't born yet. Yes. And then Chris is saying Donald also guested on Mission Impossible, which was filmed right next door, which we know. And Dee Pollock was also in Kelly's Heroes. James Frawley made 2 appearances on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Yep. The scene where Steve's character was crying apart. Well, that was what I was going to mention. I'll come back to your comment. I'm going to save that one, Chris. And he also said, but both Steve and Robert worked together in the 1968 science fiction film Countdown. Both also guest starred on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea in separate episodes. Yeah, in fact, the episode that Steve Ihnat was in for the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, he was only in the teaser. And he isn't even credited in the episode. And it's a shame because basically his character dies, and him and his wife in the episode and him, they're married. They die from this man-eating plant. And it was a Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. And it was a shame because it would have been great to have seen, him in a larger role. But yeah. But so before I go on to more into the second episode, Hun, in regards to the first episode, did you enjoy it?
I did. I mean, I wasn't feeling that great last night when I was watching it. As you know, I had a migraine, but I liked it. It was a little slow moving, a little boring, but I really ended up really liking it after I saw the second part, because then I could understand it more why they were doing what they were doing.
Exactly. You needed the I'll say the exposition for the first part, because it basically it's setting the stage. It's giving you all the groundwork of what's going on and what's going to happen. So yeah, and I should have waited because I know you had your headache and everything too. We basically should have watched both parts today, because it's really necessary in order to go into part 2. I mean, it's a 2-part episode, but
I actually would like to watch it again. The whole thing at once. I know I wanted to ask you, when was the first time that you saw it?
Wow. I probably saw this episode for the first time. I'm going to say it was probably in the mid 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because with The Outer Limits, it used to be on Channel 9 out of Secaucus. Well, actually, Channel 9 WOR television, for the folks out there that are on the East Coast, used to be in New York. It was WOR out of New York, and then they also had it out of Secaucus, New Jersey. But they used to show The Outer Limits. I think it was on Saturday nights, and it was and there were only 40 some episodes, so there weren't a lot. It wasn't a 3-season type of show.
Yeah.
But I would catch them here and there. But Joe's cousin Bob, and the irony is Ross's cousin Joe and Joe's cousin Bob. Bob was a huge Outer Limits fan.
Oh, really?
And he actually kind of got me back into the Outer Limits in the 80s. And he's also a huge Star Trek fan. I mean, one time we basically, and Bob's about 12 years older than me. And one time we went through, I think over a week time, we basically went through episode by episode and had this like this incredible phone discussion about Star Trek. It was so funny. But anyway, I digress. But that's when I first saw the Inheritors, and I loved it. I just thought, especially the second episode, I love the music. I love the performances. I thought Steve Ihnat was magnificent. I agree with Chris. I think he should have got an Emmy. I know the actors, the director was, very well taken, because part of that second episode, especially when we'll talk about it, when he does his monologue, I mean, he was kind of improvising it. I mean, he had the structure of it, but he was doing some improv, and he nailed it. He really did.
So when you saw it, you got to see 1 and 2 right in a row. Like, there was no break. You saw both of them at the same time.
I think so. And if it wasn't, it was relatively close. If it was, maybe it could have been like the next day. I'm not sure.
Was that the last time you saw it till now?
No, I've seen it since then.
Oh.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it since then.
How come we never watched it? I'm surprised.
I don't know.
Haven't we watched other Outer Limits?
Yeah, we have, actually.
I'm surprised you never showed me that one before.
Yeah, no time like the present.
And it was the only 2-part episode in the Outer Limits ever had, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like with Star Trek, the only 2-part episode of Star Trek was the Menageries, Part 1 and Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
Space 1999, The Bringers of Wonder, Part 1 and Part 2. And the list goes
Enterprise, or not, was the Borg.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
The Next Generation. That's what I meant. Not Enterprise. We're watching Enterprise now. I got Enterprise on the brain. The Next Generation, it was the Borg.
Yeah, that was the first time they did a 2-parter. They actually had other 2-part episodes.
Oh, they did?
That was, and actually, not only was that a 2-part episode, but that was a cliffhanger for the season.
Oh, the cliffhanger, right?
Oh, that was
we had to wait all summer long.
June of 1990. Summer of 1990 was a long summer waiting for that. And now it's crazy. That was what, 36? That's 36 years ago already. Oh God. What?
And didn't the Outer Limits, the second season only went halfway through because of some problems?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
That's a shame.
It is.
That's a shame.
And the first season, this is back when television would go like 24 episodes, for minimal. And I believe Outer Limits had 30 for the first season.
I think they read 36.
Oh, there you go.
And then the second season, they only did 17.
Yeah.
Because they switched the spot for where it was played against Jackie Gleason show.
Yeah, the Jackie Gleason show.
Yeah, they put it up against that. And then they changed people and stuff.
And that's what happened, right? And I was talking about Joseph Stefano. He was gone, and he was an integral part. Leslie Stevens, Ben Brady was the producer for the second season.
It seems like they do that a lot. They mess with things, and then it just doesn't.
Well, and that's kind of like what happened with Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek got moved because of Laughing, and then it was on Friday nights for the second season. But then what they did was they put it in the graveyard shift. I mean, you had college students that were watching it, but it was on at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. I mean, for me at that age, I was going out, but guess what? I was setting my VCR for Saturday nights to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'd still go out, but I'd get home at 2 a.m, and then I would watch the recording or 3 a.m. But,
you're such a geek.
Yep. But anyway, getting back to the going into part 2 now.
Yes.
So the opening narration for part 2 goes like this: the Earth, tumbling grain of sand in the darkness of unsending space, plays host to a strange and awful guest, unsought, uninvited, possessor of fearsome power, purveyor of dark deed, a relentless traveler on the road to a mysterious goal. Ooh, again, very heavy.
Ooh. Very heavy.
And essentially, what it's basically saying is, we don't know what's going on.
No, we don't.
So, with that, Stephen, at the lieutenant, comes back to the apartment, and he's met by Ballard and Art, and they basically tell him that, you know what, he's got to stand down, and he is very low key. He's kind of going again with the motions, and he's like, I haven't done anything, and he's telling them to fight it. They don't want to. He doesn't want to listen. He goes into the drawer. He takes something out that he had written on earlier, and it's basically names and directions and addresses. And he goes to leave, and what they basically tell him is that if you leave, we're going to shoot you. And they do shoot at him, but it does no good. The bullets just bounce off. And he leaves. And what he does is he goes to an orphanage to see if there's a boy there, Danny. And Danny is not there. He's been taken into a foster home. And what's very sad about Danny is that he can't hear and he can't speak. And he's gone through 4 different other foster homes, and it just hasn't worked out. And the woman that the lieutenant is speaking with, says it's really sad, and then asks if there was somebody else that he was interested, in seeing, and he said no, it was Danny that he was trying to meet up with. And then there's another case where Ballard goes to a house, and when he goes there, he sees a boy, and the boy won't let him in because he says his mom isn't home. And then what happens is the mom does arrive and basically says that, the father had passed away and that she was really busy, that Johnny has an imaginary friend named the lieutenant. And she can't understand it. And Johnny even says to the mom that that's not the lieutenant. And basically Ballard leaves there. Later on, we see the lieutenant going to the house and meets up with Johnny. He also meets up with Danny. And when he meets up with Danny, he says to him, he goes, "I'm a lieutenant." He goes, "Do you want to come with me?" And he, takes his hand, and they go off. So essentially, we don't know what's going on, but we do know that we're seeing children that essentially are helpless and have different deficiencies. There's a girl that's at the hospital that Ballard goes to. And what happens is when he visits her with the nurse, the girl is blind and basically says that she was talking to the lieutenant, and the nurse says that, she didn't see it, but that the girl was referencing speaking with him. And when Ballard is there, she tells him all about it. So there's another circumstance, another instance where the girl is, has a deficiency where sadly she's blind. And then there's another girl that essentially can't walk as well. And then we see also 2 other children later on. So it seems that what's happening is the lieutenant and then the other 3 are interested in getting the children. So Ballard is even more set off to try to stop him. And when the lieutenant does get the kids and he has them in the car, when he picks up the girl that's blind, she goes, I want to feel your face. She goes to touch him, and then he's crying. And this is really one of a few times that we see that he is kind of going against or has sympathy about what he's doing and how powerful this whole circumstance is, where he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's collecting these kids. And that's going back to Chris's comment earlier when he said the scene when Steve's character was crying in part 2 was a powerful moment, especially when one of the younger characters notices this, and that was the girl.
At that point, you think he still doesn't know what he's doing, or is he crying because he feels empathy towards these children and their handicaps?
That's a good point. I think it could actually. You know what? I think it's probably both. I don't think he does know what he was doing because he really didn't. None of them really did.
So when did? All right, I'll let you go.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering when did he know what he was doing? You know,
probably
when did
at
he
the
realize?
point probably at the point when he arrives at the
warehouse.
The warehouse.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. He was funding the other 3 to get different devices, the materials for the devices, for the construction of what they were going to do. But I don't think he knew. Actually, he didn't know what it was going to be, because when he does his monologue, he even says, "I don't know what the words are that I'm about to speak."
Oh, that's right.
So
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And that's when he knew them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the fact that he's seeing these children the way they are, and the fact that he's collecting them and he's taking them away, I think that all was causing an emotional response in him. But
confusion too.
And confusion, and he couldn't stop himself.
Yeah.
And that's got to be even more, more frustrating. But he never. I mean, again, he's almost like the leader, and even Ballard says that, that when he's trying to get through them all. So
yeah.
Fast forwarding, they get back to the warehouse. Now, this warehouse is where this ship is being constructed. One of the things that we didn't talk about was the one soldier who was Hadley. He was the one that essentially was working. He was the botanist. He was working on the atmosphere, and he was making sure that everything was going to be prepared. He actually was renting, or actually he bought the property. And when he bought it from the guy had agreed at a certain price. But then what happened was, of course, the greed factor came in, because he basically got the money from investors. So then the guy was thinking, oh, well, if I paid $100,000 for this, maybe I want more money. Maybe, your investor seems to be able to, come up with the money. So I want 150,000. And then Hadley's like, well, you're reneging on the deal. And he's like, I don't care. And then what he does is he pulls a gun out, and Hadley basically says to him, you've got a choice. You can either sign the paperwork to give me, which is the deed, to give me control of the building and the ownership of the building, or you can take that gun and you can shoot yourself. And he goes, you have a choice. And essentially what happens is he puts the gun down and then he signs the paperwork.
I think I'll sign the paper. Okay.
So that's a very strong moment. So essentially what happens is they try to set up roadblocks to try to stop the lieutenant from getting to this place. And it's in Wichita. It's in Wichita where this factory is at. And the fort they had, Ronaldo had constructed a force field, which the lieutenant had used to deflect the bullets. And the force field goes around the car. So basically this car is making its way through all these roadblocks and gets to the factory. They're unable to get to the 3 guys that are already there because of this force field. In fact, Ronaldo even says, you know what, an A-bomb couldn't get through it. And what happens is they enter with the kids through the back way, and Ballard even, is trying to appeal to them and saying, you guys have to stop this. And really he starts getting really belligerent. And he said, you know what, you're dealing with children, and you should be taking your own lives instead of allowing this to happen, because these guys cannot control themselves. That's the whole point. They are being controlled by this force. And to Shari's point earlier with Ronaldo, James Frawley's character, he really displays his frustration and his emotional how upset he is, and how he's in conflict. And this is adding to everything. And you know Ivan Dixon's character, he's pretty much saying that, what, this is wrong, and this has to stop. So basically the three guys are really are coming across that, what, they're questioning what's happening to the lieutenant. And then that's when Hadley even says to the lieutenant, because the lieutenant is saying, trust me, this is right, we're doing the right thing. And then they're like, no, this isn't right, because you would say anything, just to make sure that this project's going to go ahead, and everything is for the project. And that's when Hadley even said, I would have killed that guy had he not signed the paperwork. And then that's when Ballard, Robert De Niro, comes out and says, the lieutenant is different. He's almost like the leader. He's trying to ensure that this is going to happen. And with all of this building up and all the tension, that's when the lieutenant essentially kind of pauses, and he says, we've come to a crossroad. And he says that, there is no harm, I have never lied to any of you. And he says, the words I'm about to speak, I don't even know what I'm going to say. And he just starts delivering the monologue, and essentially saying that they're going to all go, the other three men are going to go with the children, and he'll go with them too. And they're going to go to this place. And it wasn't the helpless, it's the hopeless. These children essentially don't have any hope in regards to a life. The one girl can't walk. The one boy cannot speak. He cannot hear. The one other boy has which Adam Ballard even questions. He's like, there's nothing wrong with him. And then that's when the lieutenant says, you should have talked to them, to his mom. He only has a year to live because he's got a blood disease. That's why he's not outside playing, because, he's going to die, and he can't get, because of infection. And Ballard's like, we can't let you take the kids. So what happens is he instructs Ronaldo, to turn off the force field, the barrier, and he tells Ballard and Harris to go inside to get the kids. And then what happens is, when they walk in, they see the children, and they see the one girl that had the walker, and it's on the ground. And actually, I'll share some of the photos. And the kids are going up and down the ladder. The one girl's walking. The girl that was blind can see. And then also Danny, who couldn't talk and couldn't hear, starts to speak. And he even, he's asking Ballard about the lieutenant. And they're so choked up, because it's like, oh my God, it's like, they're whole. And it's just, it really, really just, it really hits home.
That's a good scene.
It really was. And the monologue that I wish I had, I didn't print it out, but the monologue was so well done. In fact, in references, I had Lieutenant Min's climatic monologue in part 2 was improvised by actor Steve Ihnat, basically loosed on the original scripted lines. And Morgan Brittany, who is the girl, the blind girl, said he put it into his own words, not a word for a word memorization. It just came out so beautifully. To me, it made the whole show. You'd never in your life seen crew members so mesmerized, just silence on set as he did that. So, and again, if you haven't seen the episode in a while, or if you've never seen it, I really highly recommend you check it out. And again, if you don't want to go through part 1, I try to do a brief synopsis. Just check it out. Again, brilliant performance. I think everybody did so well with it, but it was just really, really good. And when they come out of the ship, that's when Ballard says to the lieutenant, he goes, I don't know how, we could let you go. And he said, but he goes, if you take them out, they're going to revert. And what it is the atmosphere in the ship is just like the atmosphere on this planet. And what it is the beings of that planet were looking to have the inheritors from a world similar to their own because they can't procreate anymore. And essentially it's to really just kind of do like a rebirth for their civilization. So all four of the guys, are going to go with them and to kind of look after the kids as they are kids. And it's very, very sentimental in regards to that.
Didn't they find people that were close to their race? That's why they sent that.
Yes. So what essentially these beings from another world, what they did was they sent out these meteors, or this in the form of, it has the DNA of their makeup, to other worlds that are close to theirs, and our world was close to theirs. So it supposedly went to other planets as well too.
So then all four of the guys were going with the kids?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, and I know you mentioned this earlier when we were together, about the mom.
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to say about that, and thanks for bringing that up, hon, is that the one thing that they mentioned is that, and they were very, it was a point that was brought up, is that all four men did not have ties, and they weren't married. They didn't have any relationships. And in fact, the lieutenant even, says, tells that to Ballard, because Ballard, was asking him about that. And then the lieutenant says, well, you looked me up. And he said, yeah, but your service record wouldn't show if you were in a relationship. And he said he wasn't. So they're all independent. With the kids, they were all basically foster children. The only thing that really bothered me about it was that the one boy, Johnny, did have a mom, and he was taken from his mom. And now Johnny, if he stayed on Earth, would die. I mean, it was basically like a death sentence. But that's the only thing that really troubled me with this episode.
Yeah, why couldn't mom go on the spaceship?
Yeah, I mean, with the other, with the foster kids, they were trying to make it clear that it wasn't working out, and they really didn't have any ties. They were very isolated. So again, that was the one thing. So yeah, but the way they end the episode is they pull back from the ship, and as with all Outer Limits episodes, there's a closing narration, and I was going to read it, but then I got thrown off here. Oops.
Oopsie.
Closing narration. Yeah, don't think a little when that goes like that.
Yeah. You want me to talk about something while you find it?
Yeah, I'll come back to that. Go ahead, hon.
Do you have it?
Not at the moment.
Oh.
Actually, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
It goes like this. The Inheritors are on their way. In a universe of billions of stars, there are places of love and happiness. On this earth, in this spot, magic settled for a moment. Wonder touched a few lives, and a few odd pieces fell smoothly into the jigsaw of creation. Whoa.
Whoa.
Again, pretty deep.
Whoa.
And then it pulls back, and they were trying to figure out now the ship. And this is the thing too. 1964, limited budget. I mean, James Goldstone was trying to figure out how to do it. So what he did was he pulled back with the camera, and then they did an optical where they show up into the star, into the space, and then you see this like light, and it's the ship going to the planet, and it was appropriate. It worked in regards to that.
Very cool.
What were you going to say? I'm sorry, hon.
I was just going to talk about, the gadgets that they used on this show, like the walkie-talkies.
Yes.
Because we had walkie-talkies when we were kids, and I loved doing the walkie-talkies. And then they also had car phones. I didn't know they had car phones back then.
Yeah, those things were big back then, huh?
I didn't know they had car phones back then.
Hey, Randy, thanks for joining us. He said, wait, when did the show start? Oops. The show started at 7:30, Randy. We were originally supposed to start at 7, but we started at 7:30. But thanks for being out there. Now, before, I'm going to come back to that, hun. One thing I want to share with the folks out there is, oops, if I can, I lost it. Yep, I lost it again. Tech issues. What? We never have tech issues.
No, not you.
So, again, with the Star Trek connection, actor William Wintersall, Steve Ihnat, and Jan Schutten. So 3 familiar actors and actresses combined, or actors, from the Star Trek connection. And there you go. In regards to William Wintersall, he was David in Patterns of Force. And then you also had Steve Ihnat, who did Captain Garth or Lord Garth from the Star Trek episode Whom Gods Destroy. And then also you had Jan Schutten, who was Scotty's romance, Lieutenant Mira Romaine in The Lights of Zatar. Mm-hmm. So there's the Star Trek connection, and that's in regards to the actors for this episode. Director James Goldstone, who we were talking about earlier. I mean, he directed Where No Man Has Gone Before, this second Star Trek pilot, which again is one of my favorites. So definitely wanted to put that there. Go ahead, hon.
No, that was it. The walkie-talkies and the cars. Of course, I always love the older shows. I always love the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have some other comments before Randy Lee's comment, though, if you wanted to check back.
Yeah. Also, let's see. Everyone drove a Ford Galaxy 500, everyone. Yeah, exactly.
The Fords. The old Fords.
Chris commented that monologue and what is revealed was truly an emotional moment. The true purpose of what was going on was both shocking and moving all at once. Absolutely. Yeah. And then Chris was pointing out about The Lights of Zatar. Yeah, with Jan Schutten. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And the great music.
Yes, the music was amazing. Yeah.
Harry Lubin.
Loved the music for this episode.
Harry Lubin was the composer.
Yeah.
And he also did your show, the first show that you ever did on your show, One Step Beyond.
Yes.
You did stuff too.
Somebody did their homework.
I didn't have a lot of time, but I did a little homework.
I love One Step Beyond. That was with Captain Phil. Captain Phil was on for that. And I was just going to one thing too about the girl that was blind. That was actress Morgan Brittany. Now, excuse me. Hang on one second. She played Minerva, and she was credited as Suzanne Cupido, but Morgan Brittany being her stage name, basically now. Right. And she did a lot of stuff, a lot of acting as far as episodic television. She did The Twilight Zone. She did Route 66, FBI. She actually did an episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. For the folks out there that used to watch that with Gil Gerard, she was in that the episode where it was Buck's birthday, and she was his escort. So she did a lot of stuff.
She did 3 different episodes of The Twilight Zone. And she was in The Birds.
Oh, that's right. She was in The Birds. Absolutely.
The last show I did with you.
Yep. Oh, wow. Look at that connection.
The birds.
Yeah. So she's done a lot of work.
And then later in life, she was, and I never watched it, but she was in Dallas.
Yes.
I never watched Alice. And she was in that.
Yeah, she did a lot of episodic television. She did like
Yeah.
Fantasy Island and Dukes of Hazzard. The Fall Guy, for the folks out there who remember that show with
Stuff.
Murder, She Wrote. Yeah, she was definitely a working actress. The Nanny.
The Nanny.
With Sam Drescher.
The one boy, I guess he didn't have any lines, but it says boy with the ball. His name was Charles Herbert, but he was the boy in The Fly.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yep. And I did not look him up, and he did look familiar to me. That's interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
He was in The Fly with Vincent Price.
Yes, Vincent Price and David Hedison.
Yeah.
Yep. And we just covered that not too long ago.
Yeah. And that one thing that makes that funny noise, which I really wanted to know what it was, I don't know if I can do it here. Does it? I get the that sound that I wanted to find out what that was, and it was the theremin.
Oh, okay.
And which is a early electronic musical instrument. It was invented 1920 by, I think, a Russian physicist. His name was Lev Theremin. That's why it's called theremin.
Named after him.
And it's just basically a box with two antennas.
Mm-hmm.
And it produces like an eerie vocal-like sound by using two metal antennas that create electromagnetic fields, which the person using it manipulates by moving their hands to control pitch with the right hand and volume with the left hand, and they don't even have to touch anything.
Wow.
It's just that you're putting your hands near the antennas.
Oh, and it's like the magnetic field.
Yeah, so the one hand does the volume and the other hand does the pitch.
That's cool.
I thought that was really interesting.
This came up one other time, I think.
I know.
Remember when we discussed it. It was a while ago. Though.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think I was on the show too, I think.
Interesting. Oh, there you go.
But yeah, it's called the theremin.
Theremin.
Because I was wondering because it sounds like a woman's voice, and I think they also used some of the woman's voice too to do that. And the only bird I heard in the whole movie was a mockingbird.
Ah.
I had to get my bird fact in there.
There you go.
We use mockingbirds a lot because mockingbirds do so many different bird sounds. So they just throw the mockingbird in there, and he does all different kinds of bird sounds.
Yeah. He could be in it. That's cool.
What did you think of it?
Is what, the episode?
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. I love this episode. I love that, especially like the second part is, yeah, definitely. Which is unusual because a lot of times it's the first part that tends to be, over the second. But I think both parts are, I mean, you need the first in order to do the second. But the overall story, I really enjoyed. And originally, there were two different stories, too, that were going to be going on with this. It was written by Selag Lester and Sam Newman, and it was from a story by Ed Adamson. And one of the stories for the first part was the Huton Project, because that's where that meteorite had came down. Mm-hmm. And then the other part of the story was going to be the Pied Piper Project. That was going to be like part two, because it was almost like the Pied Piper, where the Pied Piper's collecting the children. So it kind of got incorporated into that, and it really, really worked out well. And like I said, this was a nod to Robert Duvall. He actually had done his first Outer Limits episode was The Chameleon, which was in the first season, and also James Shigata was in this episode. I didn't put a photo up of him, but he had done the episode Nightmare and also The Human Factor. Now, Nightmare was the episode, one of the two episodes David Frankham was in, and that was in the last season. And David Frankham had just celebrated his 100th birthday. We had him on the show last week. that was really nice.
That was special.
Yeah, it really was. And yeah. So a lot of A lot of cool factoids there, but I thought this was nice to remember them. Oh, Dennis just said Sheldon used a theremin in Big Bang on one of the episodes, The Big Bang Theory.
Wow.
There we go. Thanks for sharing that, Dennis.
That is such a cool instrument.
Yeah.
Theremin.
So.
Isn't Black Mirror, isn't that sort of like Outer Limits theme, sort of that?
Yes. I do like that show. In fact, they have.
Is that show still on?
I don't know if they're still producing it or not, but that's the show that produced the episode with Jimmy.
Yeah.
I
love that.
It's almost like a takeoff on Star Trek. And I'm talking about
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Which is really cool.
Did they remake this episode? Wasn't Outer Limits on like in the late 90s?
It was, and they did do a remake of this. Now, I did not research it. I did not go into anything in regards to that, but yeah, they did.
I just saw a little thing about it, and
it
just said it was different and it was like a darker plot. They probably ruined it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hesitate. I hesitate to take a look.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, Lou. Thank you. Lou said, Day the Earth stood still and made the theremin famous. That's probably what we were discussing it with.
Oh.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, it's been a while since we talked about that. I think that may be one of our lost episodes.
Oh, boy.
It's been a while.
I think all the episodes that I was on are lost.
Well, we know the one Soylent Green was. That definitely was.
We know Soylent Green started the whole shower scene thing.
Shoot. That's funny.
We'll have to do
that one again.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to do it. So I'm going to go to the shout outs real quickly, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap things up. So let me give our shout outs. And I'm going to start with Mike and Mary Beth for Sci-Fi Distilled, our friends at Sci-Fi Distilled. Mike and Mary Beth are on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they cover movies and television of the 80s, 90s, and beyond. They have not decided what they're going to be doing for Wednesday yet, but stay tuned, and they probably will post that sometime tomorrow or maybe on Tuesday. So Sci-Fi Distilled, 7 p.m. Wednesday nights. And then also want to give a shout out to our friend Bill Scorado that's out there tonight. Bill's the owner of Country Gate Theater. That's actually how Shari and I met, the Country Gate Playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And their announcements, if you are in the Belvedere area, Harmony, New Jersey, Belvedere, New Jersey area, Country Gate is coming back with they just did the Murder Mysteries, and now they're going to be doing the stage performance, which will be April 18th and 19th and 25th and 26th. And it is going to be The Miracle Worker. And you can get information at www.countrygate.org. And then also Bill has his own website that you can go to, which is www.billscorado.com. And definitely check it out. I'm looking forward to seeing The Miracle Worker. And I want to give a shout out in regards to the Galileo Kickstarter. And there are 20 days left to go in the process. I had Dave on. I wanted to have Brian on as well, but Brian was tied up. And Dave was on the 13th, which was not this Friday, but a week ago, last Friday. And the first goal was met, and of $100,000 raised. They are now at, or at least 2 hours ago, we're at $166,383. And that is going into the stretch goals. This is going to be incredible, and this is going to be up in Ticonderoga, New York, at the Star Trek Original Series Set Tour. The Galileo is the original shuttlecraft from Star Trek, and it's going to be having a new home, and this area is basically going to be, that's being created is going to be like the hangar deck. So anyway, for information in regards to the Kickstarter, definitely check that out. I will share the link a little later, but it's going to be pretty amazing. And that ceremony is the official ceremony of the celebration will be September 19th of this year. So definitely mark your calendars for that. And in regards to Star Trek, the Original Series Set Tour, June 25th to the 28th is going to be the 60th anniversary celebration, and it's going to be pretty amazing. Definitely go to the website. It's www.startrektour.com, and it's coming, and it's going to be very, very special, and looking forward to being up there as well to assist with that. And also have to give a shout out to our friends John Muir and for Abnormal Fixation. Episode 2 premiered this past Wednesday on the 18th. Spam Risk. I am just loving this. It is amazing. John is great. The cast is great, and it's just been so much fun. In fact, I don't have a slide for it, but John is going to be coming on with Alicia and Chris Martin, and then and that's going to be on March 22nd. It's going to be a Sunday, so mark your calendars for that. There'll be more information to come in regards to that as well. But looking forward to having them on to talk about it. The third episode will be opening up this Wednesday, and it'll be really, really cool. And also a shout out to our friend Captain Phil, Captain Phil's Planet, WUSB 90.1 FM, Stony Brook, New York. The captain's schedule is on Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He is also on Friday nights from 10 to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for the fourth Friday of each month. So definitely check that out. And also, Warren and I dropped the 5th episode of the Space 1999, this episode series that we're doing. We are in year 2. We did the live broadcast today, and Warren and myself, we welcomed Space 1999 fan from the UK, Isabel Hoy, and we talked about episode 5, Journey to Where, and it was a fun discussion. And yeah, so you can definitely check that out. That's on YouTube as well as Facebook. So definitely, and there's a lot of stuff going on with Return to Moonbase Alpha. There's a lot of information. In fact, Warren's got a new page that he set up for that, and we saw a really cool preview that he shared, and it's going to be fun. And mark your calendars in regards to that. And Space 1999 convention that's taking place in Manchester, 1999. That will be September 11th, 12th, and 13th of 2026. A lot going on in September. And for information on the website, it's www.space199950years.com. Confirmed guests are Nick Tate, Anton Phillips, Suzanne Heimer, and then Carolyn Seymour, and then other folks too that are being confirmed as well too. So definitely check it out. And that is again the Space 1999 convention, Manchester 1999. Also want to give a shout out to my son Ryan for Run by Ryan, Empower Your Run. Ryan is an online coaching service provider. There's no fee to join. However, if you want to go to the next level, once you join, there are fees associated with that. Ryan is very passionate about his running. I can say that for sure. Shari will attest. In regards to his website, it is www.runbyryan.com. So please check that out. And of course, got to give a shout out to my old friend and my old co-host.
Jeez. If you are old, what am I? Jeez.
Nah, I'm just teasing. I know somebody was talking about somebody that was like, I think Ryan was saying, what did Ryan say? And Ryan's 32. He goes, oh, I'm old. And I said, Ryan, if I said, if you're old, I got one foot in the grave. Oh my God. I was like, thanks, buddy. But no, Ross has 3 shows that he does. First one being Picture Perfect. It is on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He also does on Saturdays Sweetness and Light, which is on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then also The Lost Chord on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen and tune into these at kwax.uoregon.edu. And also Ross has a Facebook page that he also does, and also gives a preview of what these shows are about. Ross's knowledge of music, especially classical music, is pretty amazing. So definitely check that out. And as I was saying earlier at the beginning of the show, Ross and I will be back on Friday, February 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be episode number 293. Don't know what we're going to be doing yet, so stay tuned for that. And very excited about that. Bill, absolutely. You're welcome. And thanks for your compliments about the show tonight too, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it. I'm glad you could be out there. Yeah, we have our 300th episode coming, and I'm trying to time it out. It's going to probably be the first week of April. And yeah, it's going to be not only the 300th episode of the show, but it's going to be 6 years of the show. The show premiered back in April of 2020, which is kind of crazy. So we're, yeah, that's pretty amazing. But so anyway, any last words about this episode, hon?
I'd just like to watch it again sometime and watch both of them at the same time, instead of splitting it up.
Cool.
Well, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary too of your surgery.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You went out and celebrated the other night. It was nice.
Yeah, that was very nice.
Very special.
1 year since my my heart operation. That's crazy. The double bypass. February 19th. That date will stay in my ingrained for a long time. So yeah. But yeah, no, thank you. That was special. It was nice. We had a nice night.
Yeah.
The Regalsville Inn. We'll give them a plug. But yeah, well, thank you for joining me as my special co-host tonight.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for asking.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the folks out there appreciate it because it would have been me rambling for an hour by myself. So that definitely made it more fun, more interactive for sure.
Yes. And everybody stay safe in this crazy snow.
Yes, and on the Northeast, we are getting hit really hard. Oh, and Lou said, I remember that Outer Limits episode, and it was memorable. Good job, Roy and Sherry. Thanks.
Thanks, Lou.
Lou, I hope you're not getting hit with, I think you were telling me you're maybe going to get like 2 feet of snow up there in Rhode Island. It's crazy.
I'm so over it. We just got rid of the snow we got last time, and now we're getting more now. Oh, thank you, Dennis.
Oh, that was nice. Chris said, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
We appreciate it. All right, everyone. Well, as we like to say always, live long and prosper. And we appreciate you, tuning in. And Lou just said, yep, 2 feet of snow. My goodness. Oh, boy. Batten down the hatches. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But anyway, whatever everybody's doing and wherever you are, stay safe. And yeah, we'll see you on Friday. Night, everyone.
Bye. Good night.